Go ahead.
Have you dealt with any VoIP pass-through phishing scams? Basically, they set up basically an Astra server that then dials the call center for the actual bank.
The phishing stuff, yes. That's actually, we saw, the first one we saw was Chase. That happened. Strom down here, actually, he's kind of a partner of ours individually, but we contract work to him, and sometimes he comes out, and he came out with a copy of it. Was it Wells Fargo?
Yeah, it was the Wells Fargo IVR menu. Basically, I just called up Wells Fargo's IVR menu, made recordings of all their prompts, threw it together on my Asterisk box, sliced it up, made a little script that just kind of prompts the caller for their account number and their PIN, and then transfers to a live human being, which could be anybody. But essentially, you just capture their account number and PIN without them even realizing it.
Right, and you could man in the middle back to another call center, the real call center for the human being, exactly. So yeah, we're seeing phishing. Also, on the other end of it, we have a lot of caller ID spoofing used to in phishing, where they'll call Western Union, spoof the caller ID with the credit card holder's number, and Western Union won't call you back because on their screen it's actually valid, the billing number for it. And so they'll be able to say, I want to transfer $500, I'll go pick it up with a fake ID or whatever. And so they use that as a cash out method as well. So we're seeing that, and the phishing is becoming more popular. It really, that we're seeing with links and then justifying it with a number is starting to be the trend, so that there's two ways, and it gives them a way to kind of feel more confident in the quote phish. Oh, go ahead.
Under Title 18, isn't it the monitoring has to be done as part of normal business operation? What you're doing, does that fall within that? Or
well, we're not, quote, the ISPs doing the monitoring, which is their normal business operation to monitor and mitigate security risks. So IDS is a security, it's basically a wiretap device, basically, as we know. It's just filtering certain things. So in that sense, basically, as your business, your point is to defend your network. And if you want to put a honey net under that, a lot of the times you can, because that's what you're looking at, threat intelligence, right? So I don't know if that answers your question, but in most cases, standard business operating stuff with the actual action against fraud itself, specifically, because USC 1030 is specific on computer fraud. So when you're investigating that and you're using that intelligence off of your IDS or whatever it was, it becomes legal for you guys as an entity as long as that terms of service is applied. Yeah, we've had ISPs that won't do that at all. You know, they'll say, you know, get an FBI agent to call us and get us a subpoena. And then we have a lot of good ISPs that'll basically, what'll happen is, like, we'll find like some forum that's doing something and it'll be hosted there. And I'm like, hey, can you send me the PCAPs every day for the next 2 weeks? And they'll set up an FTP server and send us PCAPs. And they can do this legally because the subscribe to the ISP have agreed that, hey, I can be monitored if I'm doing something malicious. So, yeah.
Do you find you deal often with problems with jurisdiction when, you know, hackers from Russia outside the United States are attacking U.S. targets?
This is one of the reasons why we created the malware list, is that we have, you know, Australia, France, UK, SOCA group, you know, Aucert, the Lexi group from France. So a lot of times when we do like set projects, what we'll do is put together a task force, set up a separate list, have the people on that task force, and we all work together in conjunction. But what'll happen also is that, you know, with FBI, like if we get FBI involved or Secret Service or whatever, they have what's called LEGAT, right? So for them to talk to a foreign country, they have to go through the paperwork, you know? So what we do is, if FBI happens to be on a mailing list or something like that that we run, and that communication's there, that kind of bridges some of that, or a little bit kind of goes around it, as long as the FBI is not, quote, engaging and they have to call them and stuff, but it helps them have intelligence in the US and still work internationally with these people. And then if it comes to the point there's enough intelligence, obviously law enforcement will come along and say, yeah, we need a LEGAT, let's get that going and stuff. And it gives them kind of like a buffer space to getting that done. And we have a lot of different international projects right now for some major virus authors and some, you know, different investigations and stuff. So yeah, we get a lot of international help for sure. We're done? Are we done, or what's that say? I have no glasses. 10 minutes? Go ahead.
Just like curiosity, how many of your problems end up being on EU's universities, I2 versus, you know, Cambridge?
We haven't seen one problem on I2 perspective yet. Then again, we're not monitoring I2 yet. So if there's other problems on I2 is a bridge to the internet anyways. I mean, they're connecting the two pretty much. So if that comes into a problem and stuff, I mean, we have the IPv6 stuff in IRC to kind of give somewhat anonymity and such, but it's not exactly an impossible problem to deal with. But we do see a lot of stuff on universities, that's for sure. Yeah, okay. So yeah, we see a lot of university stuff. A lot of these phishers end up being students at universities in different countries or in here. I mean, in the States we find more of drug problems with the people that are doing this kind of activity, whereas in Europe or so we actually find more of it's like a business. And it's not necessarily drugs that are motivating, more just not the best economy. Like you have Romania and Russia, which Russia unfortunately has got a lot of corruption going on. As you saw, the banker, the anti-fraud banker, if anybody heard in the news, was gunned down, I think it was last week or a week and a half ago, because he was shutting down all these Russian banks that were doing corruption and money laundering. And then he ended up getting killed by some money launderers himself, and through what they believe is a contract killing. So unfortunately, that tells us, oh, these guys have teeth. They really want their business. But some of that, I mean, pays for a lot of, the economy, unfortunately. And so it's like we're empathetic but not sympathetic, if you know what I mean. Like we understand the culture, but, it's still a crime, and, we have, kind of, so it's stuff that makes sense.
What I've observed working for an HiTech-03.avi is a lot of students who do phishing, using my voice from last night.
Yeah, no problem. I have the same problem right now.
They literally only target other IT universities, and they do that to avoid exposure to I-1, going to Horizon Quest or something like that. We notice that's becoming more and more of an issue. Yeah,
we're not on I2 right now, so we don't, but if you want to talk to me afterwards, maybe we can talk about getting together and kind of doing a partnership of getting some intelligence our way on that stuff, and we'll help mitigate any problems over there and do some investigations. So, anybody else? All right. No, just kidding. Yeah.
How much personal retribution have you guys got directly from the visits?
I got one. Okay, let me start with my basics and let him answer his one recently. He actually got retribution back too. So just last week I actually had to move to Tor on some of the blind drops we're monitoring because these guys were like, oh, well, your sets of IPs, I'm going to just block you. And then we've actually had it where I'll be monitoring an open directory and then it suddenly changes and says die yuppie index.html. And so I'll just inference because they're still idiots. But the point is that I mean, we've seen stuff like that. We haven't had, we're pretty discreet on how we do our stuff. We have a distributed environment, so they're not going to quote say, oh, it's secure science doing this stuff, So we've kind of kept, our activities that are really important pretty discreet about this stuff. I mean, if our company itself, you can see our web pages, we don't even really explain our products very often because we don't want phishers knowing technologies we're using, what we're doing for some of the stuff that we're doing that's pretty advanced. This is stuff that we have no problem talking about. Let me get Josh to get the other part of this, though.
Okay, so a couple of the people that work with us in our company or have relationships, we encountered a fisher in IRC, and he really wanted to know if anybody had roots. He just wanted roots so damn bad so he could set up a scanner because you need roots to run Nmap. Didn't even think about, installing Linux himself, but he was trying to trade, and all of us basically told him to piss right off. And so he busted out his udp.pro and he knocked a couple of us offline. And, I have to give a screaming review for the Netgear FES 114 VPN router because although a couple of us did get plinked right off of the internet, I managed somehow to stay on without missing a packet. And the really cool thing was it kept logs of all the IPs from the fragmented UDP packets. And so we took those and plugged them into Undernet, got lucky, found a couple of the botnet hangouts, and that's where all those configuration because those are the guys that left the web shells open. So yeah, there are people that try. I'm more concerned about the organized crime element than I am just the random skiddies. But generally, they're not that smart, and that's why they're fishers in the first place and not hackers. And I just don't plan on going to Russia or Romania anytime soon.
But the cool thing about how we do it, like Josh's attack that he had wasn't on our network. We have separate networks for all this investigation stuff. So it doesn't affect like on this or that, and they don't say, oh, this is a secure science IP.
That's
so,
why we use Tor now.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Okay, anybody else? Oh, yes.
What kind of mix are you seeing between the real, honest-to-God Russian mafia and the skids?
What kind of what, sorry?
What mix you're seeing?
We actually, let me kind of go in some history there. So 03, 04, very covert Russian style stuff, right? And then we have what we call the chaotic groups, basically the Romanians that are pretty much traders online. you can pretty much make bus pretty easy comparably, depending on the extradite laws and all the fun stuff. But the point being is that for a while, those are definite skiddies, and then we had these very serious, very, using encryption, very, very careful on how they did stuff. The Russian organized crime today is so huge, like in the sense of the business. It's become like a corporation for these people, that they're more overt, and they're open to being on forums, trading with different players on this, and they're utilizing that so it's less neck in the business. It's kind of like allies versus enemies, right? There's no point, but there's a lot of, it's kind of like market share. You got these Romanians taking a piece of the market, and Romanians are a lot more aggressive, whereas organized crime tends to be more tactical, and organized crime tends to get a lot more data quicker, because they are truly organized in that sense, and they have higher technologies. Most of these Romanian kids just use free software out there and stuff. But the bottleneck is killed now because you've got Trojan creation kits, you've got things that are advertised on these different forums, like literally have ads like need money, cash-win.biz, and it's a, get your cash out today, or, or need roots, need shells, and it's like full on like, like a Ford ad, but it's like these like illegal activities, and we'll see, nuclear grabber, and it has the radiation, symbol on it, and it's like, starting at $250, that kind of thing. And so they are becoming more overt because of the fact that they're not afraid anymore. They've got this down to to the point that go ahead and it's like, okay, you stop a few of us, it's like spammers, right? You can stop a few spammers, it's like, uh-oh, you saw Blue Security. So, go ahead.
Any China?
I can't comment. I'm not allowed to. I can neither confirm nor deny. Let's just say it that way. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not allowed to talk about any of that. No, it's not your. We're under certain contracts. Anything else? Good. Go home. Cool. Just kidding.
Thanks for coming out. If you didn't get a shirt and you asked a question, come up here real fast. Yeah, and thanks for our sponsors who gave us the swag to hand out. Appreciate it.